All right, for everybody, all you Quakers fans out there, this is Lex Zorin here at Franklin, and we'll be starting the broadcast in about 3 minutes. So just sit tight, and we'll be back with you with some Quakers football action here. And we'll be going on the air in now 3 minutes. Game 7 of 9 in the regular season. And let's see here. 2 minutes, 50 seconds now. And let's see here. So now 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And 2 hours, I'm sorry, 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, excuse me there. And 2:15 now. And 2 minutes and 5 seconds. 2 minutes. And 1 minute and 50 seconds. Uh, 1 minute and 40 seconds. One minute and 30 seconds. 125. $115. 105. 1 minute. $45 seconds. 35 seconds. Usually being escorted by parents either of time. 27 seconds. Hold on. 18 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and blast off. Hello, and welcome to the campus of Franklin Community High School. My name is Lex Zorn, and I'll be bringing you all the action as your Plainfield Quakers challenge the Franklin Grizzly Cubs in Week 7 of the Indiana high school football season. Well, last week, your Quakers suffered their first loss of the season, 42-21 to the arch-rival Decatur Central Hawks. The game was postponed on Friday night because of the predicted severe wind and was played on Saturday afternoon amid light to moderate rain. Possibly because of the weather and particularly the wet ball, both teams struggled early. In the first quarter, Decatur Central running back Pharrell Carter lost a fumble inside their 30, but Plainfield's Luke Starnes lost a fumble on Plainfield's ensuing possession. Decatur Central opened the scoring on a 4-yard touchdown pass from Bo Polston to Kashmir Hicks with 11:21 remaining in the second quarter. Plainfield tied it with 4:48 remaining in the quarter on a 4-yard touchdown rush by Starnes on 4th and 1. But the Hawks answered quickly, scoring on a 23-yard rush by Carter with 2:29 remaining in the quarter. And then after a second lost fumble by Starnes, Carter scored a second touchdown in just 1 minute and 2 seconds on a 3-yard rush. The extra point was blocked, but Decatur Central now had a 2-touchdown lead at 20-7. The Quakers got back in it on a 12-yard rush from Starnes with 2:02 remaining in the third quarter to make it 20-14. But on the ensuing kickoff, Hicks destroyed Plainfield's momentum with a 99-yard return for a touchdown. And Decatur Central had a multiple touchdown lead the rest of the way. Tonight, Plainfield tries to get back on track as they visit the Franklin Grizzly Cubs, who've improved a lot in recent years and started the season a promising 2-0, but have lost their 4 subsequent games. Franklin started off with a big 47-6 win over New Albany and pulled out a 21-20 win over Mount Vernon of Fortville. Since then, however, the Grizzly Cubs have lost 12-7 to Perry Meridian, 27-14 to Whiteland, 47 to Martinsville, and last week 26-21 to Mooresville. Tonight, as we begin the last third of the regular season, both Plainfield and Franklin are trying to build some momentum for the playoffs. Now, so far this season, Plainfield has rushed 247 times and passed 55 times, a ratio of 4.5 to 1. Sophomore quarterback Bryce Sabank has mostly been a very conservative and efficient game manager, but he had the statistically best game of his career last week. He's completed 34 of 52 passes, that's 65.4%, for 343 yards and no touchdowns with no interceptions. His leading receiver is sophomore Ethan Ellis with 14 receptions for 171 yards, followed by senior Weston Wayrich with 5 receptions for 60 yards, junior Luke Starnes with 7 for 46, and junior Ryan Garver with 4 for 46. The Quakers do most of their damage on the ground, led by the 2 players who I call the 2 lead actors. Junior Luke Starnes has 124 rushes for 978 yards and 12 touchdowns, while senior Weston Wayrich has 89 rushes for 547 yards and 11 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Franklin has rushed 172 times and passed 92 times, a ratio of 1.9 to 1. Junior quarterback Grayson Betts has completed 42 of 92 passes, 45.7% for 455 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. His leading receiver is senior Alex Lugers with 13 receptions for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns, followed by sophomore Corey Taunt with 8 receptions for 74 yards and 1 touchdown, and junior Braden Bonesteel with 8 receptions for 72 yards. On the ground, Alex Lugers leads the way with 124 rushes for 849 yards and 9 touchdowns. In addition, quarterback Grayson Betts has 32 rushes for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. Head coach for Plainfield is Tyler Bless, who's 11-5 in his second season with the Quakers. Head coach for Franklin is Chris Cole, who's 32-45 in his 8th season with the Grizzly Cubs and 111-88 in his 19th season overall. He previously served 11 years as head coach at Tri-West, leading the Bruins to the Class 3A state championship in 2014. Tonight is his 200th game as a head coach. Well, at this time, we'll take a short break for a few words from our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the opening kickoff. Plainfield Franklin coming at you live under the Friday Night Lights. Next. This broadcast of Plainfield football on audiosportsonline.com is brought to you by the generous donations of our sponsors. We would like to recognize them, and we hope you will support them. They are Remax Centerstone Julia Berberich, Ganell Financial, Crone Family Construction, My IT Indy Ryan Grimes, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, BGW Construction LLC, Legacy Motorsports, Crest Point Real Estate, Chris Pearson Sell with the Jones the Stewart Home Group, and Ellison Associates. Thank you, sponsors. Your support for the student athletes of Plainfield High School is greatly appreciated. Well, back here at Franklin, we're just a few minutes away from kicking off Game 7 of the season. It's an unseasonably warm day for October. This is our first game in October this year. Currently, it's 73 degrees under a mostly clear sky here in Franklin, about 15 miles directly south of Indianapolis. The high today here was actually 81. And not only that, but a week from tonight for our final regular season home game of the season against Whiteland, we're supposed to have a high of 77. So I hope you all will get up for that one. Now, here in Franklin, today is the senior day for the Grizzly Cubs. And not only for the football program, but for some other sports and activities. So they just had a senior day activity. The senior day introductions just lasted about half an hour, and they just finished a few minutes ago. But it looks like we will be starting pretty well right on time tonight. 6:43 your time of day now. And I'll tell you, last week, of course, was Plainfield's first loss of the season. It's disappointing, but not devastating. What would have happened under good weather? We don't know. Um, that being said, Decatur Central had to play in it. They had to play in it also. The disappointment to me is the last two heavy rain games we played last week, and then our senior day last year against Martinsville. We were up against a team that should have been more harmed by the rain than we were, and yet the other team ended up outplaying us both nights. So that's something for us to learn and grow from. But I think we will learn and grow from it. The one thing that made me a little bit nervous about losing last week is that, you know, we won our first five games this year, as we did last year, against the exact same five opponents. Then we suffered our first loss of the season to Decatur Central 2 years in a row. And last year that, ended up leading to a collapse. So we did beat Franklin the next week 38-3, but it was a game in which, but it was the next two games where, everything started to fall apart. And then when we played Harrison in the playoffs, it had been 9 weeks since we had beaten them in the regular season, and they figured out how how to beat us, I guess, by checking out what both Martinsville and Whiteland had done to us in the last two games of the season, at weeks 8 and 9, and they came out with a far superior game plan, and they just thoroughly out executed out and outplayed us. I'm not saying they out efforted us, because our kids did give it. Our kids always have given a great effort ever since I've been with the program, but they just we weren't prepared for what was thrown at us, and we just got dominated, and it was our only loss by a big margin all year, 26 points by a team that we had beaten by 1 point in the regular season, and who we had beaten in the playoffs the year before by 7. So anyway, last week's game, really, if you look at the overall statistics, we were only outgained from scrimmage by 40 yards, 391 to 351. On the ground, it was almost exactly even, 111 to 109, which that's a good feeling, knowing that. I'm sorry, that was our yards rushing was 280 to 242. So Decatur Central with a 38-yard advantage. So that showed that our two-man tandem of Starnes and Wayrich can be competitive with Decatur Central's excellent rushing attack. And then the passing was just about equal. And and keep in mind, Decatur Central, they have a future Division I quarterback in Bo Polston. So there's a lot to take out of that game. And if you take away our two lost fumbles, I think there's a good chance we get out of there with the win, or at least it's neck and neck there at the end of the game. So, they just made a couple more plays than we did, and they pulled away, and I give them all the credit for that. But, I think our kids, if we play them again in the playoffs, I think we got a 50-50 chance or better to win. But we do have to keep on improving week to week between now and then. And, I went home. I did not go, home from that game with my head hanging low. I thought, we're gonna watch the game tape, and we're gonna fix what went wrong in this game. And one thing that we showed, we were up against our toughest opponent of the season, and our two-star running backs. If they had been shut down or even held to under 70 yards each, that would have been a bad sign. But as it was, Starnes got over 100 yards. Wayrich got 99. They got 3 touchdowns between them. So certainly we did not get stuffed. And we had by far our best passing game of the season. It wasn't spectacular, but it was decent. And if we keep on, passing that well, and if we keep on, if we keep on passing that well, and we keep on, and if our receivers start attracting more defensive attention, that'll open up some more doors for Starnes and Wayrich, and even Sabank, our quarterback, who had a 44 44-yard rush a couple of weeks ago at Greenwood that led to our first score that finally broke the ice after we've been struggling on offense to start the game. And now Plainfield rushing out onto the field. We got about 150 Quaker fans here who made the trip. I guess this will be our longest road trip of the season. For the regular season, we could have a long run in the playoffs. Hopefully we'll have several playoff games, home and away. Now Franklin entering. We got a great senior day crowd here. It looks like we got a couple of thousand Franklin fans here. And we'll probably have a late arriving Franklin crowd the rest of the way. Probably a lot of people still stuck in traffic. I headed down about 10 after 5 today from East Indianapolis. And, back when I was working downtown, which I did for many years, 14 to be exact, or actually, or I think it was 17, actually, 17. One building for 14 and then another for 3 with the same company. And, I was allowed to leave whatever time I wanted on game day. And whenever I played one of what I call the US 31 teams, that is Franklin, Greenwood, and Whiteland, 3:30 was my cutoff time to leave. But I'll tell you, post-COVID, with more people working at home, the traffic is not that bad anymore. So anyway, it'll be years before we fully know how COVID changed society. But, certainly fewer people working downtown, that's for sure. So now we got the captain's meeting at midfield, doing the pregame handshake and coin toss. 1:37 left to go on the pregame clock. 6:58 your time of day. For whatever reason, the clock on my laptop seems to be stuck at 6:43. That's odd. Let me see if I can fix that here, because it's kind of annoying. But anyway, okay, yeah, it's updated now. Okay, that's good. And so anyway, right now let's take a look at what the other Hendricks County teams are up to right now. And that will pause for the national anthem. So hold tight for a couple minutes and then we'll be back. Well, thank you to the Franklin Marching Grizzly Cubs for that lovely rendition of the national anthem. And, for a long time, this is a game that was pretty well a gimme for Plainfield, from 1997 to 2018. Franklin had 20 consecutive seasons of 500 or below. They finished 500 5 times and had 17 losing seasons. And during those 22 seasons, Plainfield had a 20-2 record against the Grizzly Cubs. Now, the last 2 of those years, were the first 2 years of the Chris Cole era. Chris Cole having come over after 11 years at Tri-West in Hendricks County, where he led the Bruins to the Class 3A state championship in 2014. And after going 3-17 combined his first 2 years, Cole then started to get the program on track. Since then, the last 5 years, not counting this one. They've had 2 winning seasons, 8-3 both times, and also had a 5-5 season. So clearly the program is getting better, and the Grizzly Cubs are 3-2 against the Quakers in that stretch. Though the Plainfield did win last year, 38-3. They only won in their last 5 games. So now the Quakers set to kick off here to open the game. .6:59 your time of day. I guess they're anxious to get started. And it gets started a minute early. And nearly a touchback filled in at the 1, brought up to the 5, 10, 15, and about the 20. So just about the same effect as a touchback anyway. Leo Hayab, an outstanding season for the senior kicker for the Quakers. Hopefully this will be a smoother game. You know, I've been really thinking a lot. This has been a really odd season for me as a commentator. And so now Grizzly Cubs take formation, 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Throw up the middle, and it is caught for a 28 or 29-yard gain. Grayson Betts, the 3-year starter. Alex Lugers makes the catch. So certainly after coming off a 4-game losing streak, a welcome start for the Grizzly Cubs. And now Lugers this time takes it up the middle. He is the team's leading rusher and leading receiver. He is a senior, big college prospect. So now at 2 plays is all it takes for Franklin to get into Grizzly Cubs territory. Give Lugers 5 there on the first rush of the game. Now 4 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. And now Betts takes it up himself, and he's stopped for a gain of about 2, so he'll bring up 3rd and short. Grayson Betts, I remember him starting 2 years ago as a freshman while I was here. And I thought that might play into our favor, but it did not. We lost the game 35-12. So now 3rd and 3, screen pass. It is complete, and he's got the first down at about the 35. So that'll be a gain of about 8. Who's the guy who got that catch there? So 1st and 10 at the 36. And now Betts under pressure, and he's and he throws deep into triple coverage, and it's out of bounds. So first incompletion of the game for Betts. So 2nd and 8, actually 2nd and 10 at the 36 for the Grizzly Cubs. First possession of the game, 9:50 to go in the first quarter. Now handoff there to Lugers. They try to trip him up, but he does get up for about 5, bringing up about 3rd and 5. Lugers, a sensational athlete. 5'11", 195. He is a senior. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. So they give him 3 there. So 3rd and 7 now. Big 3rd down for the Quakers defense, trying to keep their momentum, trying to keep from having to play behind today like they did for much of last week. Screen pass now there to Lugers. He breaks a tackle, and he gets up short of the first down. So Betts has completed 3 of his first 4 passes. I wonder if he's related to Dickie Betts of the Allman Brothers Band. Name's spelled the same way. Gets 6 there, so that's going to be 3rd and 4th and 1, excuse me. And now gives it to Lugers, and we knocked him out of bounds. I think we stopped him short of the first. So excellent coverage. So turnover on downs on the first possession for the Grizzly Cubs. And Lugers stopped him. Looks like they're going to mark him right at the line of scrimmage. So the Quakers now with 8:41 to go. 8:41 to go. Take over at their own 27. Still no score. 7:07 their time of day. So now 3 receivers to the right. I believe that it's Starnes there. Starnes takes it up, spins around, and gets about 4. Starnes should move over easily over the 1,000-yard mark on the season tonight. He got about 950 last season. Give him 3 there to start off. So now 2 receivers to the right. And now screen pass. And he drops it. Garber, the intended receiver. So disappointing. That brings up 3rd and 7 now. So a big 3rd and 7 here on the first possession of the game. 8:02 to go. Plainfield looks like after last week is going to start to go to the air more. Sabank incomplete on his first, however. So now 1 receiver at each side. Starnes the running back. He takes it up the middle. He breaks through, and he's got through on the right side up to the 45, 50. 1 man to beat. 40, 35. Gets a block. And yes, he could go all the way up to the 10, 5. Touchdown. Yes. Luke Starnes, 69 yards. Number 13 of the season. And that puts him over the 1,000-yard mark. All right. And on 3rd and 7, too. All right. So hopefully this will be a tension-free night, because my tension has been, the last few weeks, and I'll talk more about this later in the game when we have more time. But Luke Starnes, 69 yards. I believe that's a career long for him, but I will check that out here. And now there's a whistle there on the conversion before the play. So now Leo Hayob having an outstanding season on both kickoffs and PATs. The kick is up, and it is good. So with 7:48 to go here in the first quarter at Franklin, your score: Plainfield 7, Franklin 0. Quakers look like they came here to shake off their first loss of the season. Franklin did move the ball well on the first possession, but then stalled inside the 30. Excellent stop when they had it on 4th and 1. Alex Lugers looked sure to get it, but he was very well covered, and they pushed him out of bounds for actually a loss of 1. Franklin joined the Mid-State Conference back in 1981. Tonight is the 42nd meeting between these two schools. Plainfield leads the all-time series 30-11. Though, like I said, Franklin has won 3 of the last 5. So now Hayop set to kick off. Oh, and they're going for a surprise onside kick, and Franklin recovers. And I think Franklin was ready because last year when we had a 14-0 lead, we got a successful onside kick on them. And even though that drive produced no points, still it still helped establish our dominance of that game. So now Franklin takes over at their own 44, trailing 7-0. So 3 receivers to the right, 1 to the left for the Grizzly Cubs. Picks the handoff now and throws deep down the left side, and it is incomplete. The intended receiver was Braden Bonesteel. Last name spelled just like it sounds, like bone and like steel. Never heard of that one before. Braden spelled like actor Eric Braden, the German guy on Young and the Restless. A show that I once auditioned for. Seriously, back in 2016, they did an open tryout in Arcola, Illinois for that in The Bold and the Beautiful. I auditioned, but did not get the part, unfortunately. But it was a great experience anyway. So now they give it to Lugers, and he's up for about 1. So it's going to be 3rd and long for the Grizzly Cubs. They turned it over on downs on the first possession. Well, they marked him for no gain. Wow, so the last 2 rushes by Lugers stopped for a total of -1. So hopefully we got his number tonight. And now Betts is swarmed, and he's about to end. He's pushed out of bounds for a big loss. All right. He had nowhere to go. Should have gotten rid of it. That's one of those times, if I were commentating and it was my quarterback, I would have, been really frantically telling him to get rid of it. So Starnes back now to receive the punt after a 3-and-out by the Grizzly Cubs. Nearly blocked. It's a good punt, and Starnes takes the fair catch at the 24. So Plainfield starting off just 4 yards, 4 yards behind where they started last time. So come on, boys, let's get an early 2-touchdown lead and take firm control of this game. So now 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. Got both the Wayrich and Starnes in there at running back. Now head up to Starnes, takes her on the left side. This time they cover him well, and he gets maybe just a yard. So they gave him 1 there. So Starnes 3 rushes tonight, 172. I'm sorry, 169. I'm sorry, 369, and now 173 overall, and a touchdown. He has 13 on the year. Wayrich has 11. So now, hand off again. He's got a hole, and he gets spins around, but then is knocked back and tackled for a gain of just about 3. That was Starnes again. No, I'm sorry, that was Wayrich. That was Wayrich's first carry of the game. Weston Wayrich, who himself has. I started off calling Starnes the lead actor and Wayrich the supporting actor. Now, now I call them the 2 lead actors because they've established themselves to be roughly equals. Starnes with 13 touchdowns, Wayrich with 11. So now a 3rd and 7, which is what it was last time when Starnes went 69 yards for the touchdown. Now Sabak throws. He's got a completion. I think they stopped him a yard shorter, though. Still might go for it. I think it's only a yard short. Ethan Ellis there, the team's leading receiver on the season. Oh, illegal formation. I didn't see the flag. So that will knock it back. The first penalty of the first penalty of the game by either team. Took us over half a quarter. That's a welcome change to, the mess that we had last week, where we had, I believe, about 25 penalties, including 6 or 7 personal fouls. And not only that, but we had several deliberations of 2, 3, 4 minutes each after the penalties, possibly because, and hold that thought. So now 3rd and 11 for the Quakers, trying to take a two possession lead early. Sabak now a double handoff, and Ellis got room on the left side. He's got the first down and more past the 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35. He could go all the way. Yes, 77 yards, said the Quakers have a 2-touchdown lead. All right. Oh my God. That's Ellis's second. Ellis's second touchdown of the season, and the first was also on a double handoff, and that was our first touchdown of the season. It finally broke the ice for us after that slow start in the Terre Haute South game back in week 1. Oh my God. Spectacular. So touchdown rushes by touchdown rushes of 67, and the extra point by Hayab is up, and it is good. So in the first 7:05 of this game, touchdown rushes of 69 and 77 yards by the Quakers, as they already established control of this game. Ellis is only a sophomore, keep in mind, so we're expecting a lot more from that young man over these next couple of years. Well, I'd like to give a special thanks to Whiteland for the delicious Papa John's pizza that they're serving to us media folk today. And the second time I've been served pizza by the team I was visiting this year. It also happened week 2 at Harrison. Is Papa John's in their case too. Not, I'm not picky. I mean, I have very low standards when it comes to pizza, so just about anything I would like. But yeah, I'll be sure to add the Whiteland Athletic Department to my will. So now Hayab, his first 2 kicks did not go into the end zone for a touchback, although coming into tonight, he was 19 for 33, getting his kickoffs into the end zone for touchbacks. 7:19 to go. This game between the two schools was played with a running clock last year, starting early in the 3rd quarter. We're on pace to have that again tonight, but let's see. I felt pretty good about this one coming in. And now a long kick, and this one does get in the end zone. So Hayab now 20 for 35, exactly 4 out of every 7 kickoffs this season going into the end zone for him. Okay, and now while the players are, while the offense and defense are coming in for the special teams, I'm going to go over to the cooler here and grab a soda. This is the best cooler I've seen all season. My first time here at Franklin was back in 2012 when the Quakers played here. Yeah, I hold that thought. And now screen pass, it is complete, and he gets up for about that was Corey Taunt there. Gets up for about 4 or 5. So trying to think from the other team's perspective, if I were head coach Chris Cole right now for Franklin, I'd be telling the guys, don't panic, just take your time, be methodical. We get a touchdown and it's a 1-possession game. We're right back in this. And now Lugers gets it And he's got a first down and more. And we got a late flag. Let's see what that's all about. But he did get it up to about the 35. That's about an 11-yard gain there. All right, that was against Franklin there. So 2nd and 14 for the Grizzly Cubs at their own 17. 3 receivers to the right now. Screen pass, and it's tipped. It was too high, and it went off his fingertips. Could have been intercepted, but no Plainfield player was close enough to it. So now that'll bring up a very critical 4th down for the Grizzly Cubs here. They already trail 14-0 here in the first quarter. Plainfield look like they're going to get back in the winning column after last week's disappointment. After their first loss of the season. So now Betts swarmed, nearly brought down. He was running for his life now, and he throws deep, and it is out of bounds. So Betts now completed exactly half of his passes, 4 of 8 for 47 yards. And now the Grizzly Cubs will be punting for the 2nd consecutive possession after they turned it over on downs on their first after moving up to the 27 of Plainfield. So now they swarm, go for the block punt, gets it away. It bounces just before the 50, and it takes a Franklin bounce up to about the 42. So that's going to be about a 40-yard punt. So Plainfield, after scoring on touchdown rushes of 69 and 77 yards, I don't know why it was so hard for me to say that the first time, but came out with no problem the second time. So now Sabank lining up in shotgun. Starnes is in there at the running back. Got 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Plainfield trying to, take full control of this game. 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Starnes, and he's got room on the left side, up to the 35, breaks the tackle. Now up to the 30, and he could go all the way. 1 man to beat, 30, 25, and he's knocked out of bounds. No, he stays on his feet, and he gets up inside the 10. Let's see where they mark him out of bounds. Nevertheless, it's going to be a huge pickoff, a huge gain for Luke Starnes. I thought he was pushed out the 20, but he ran around the guy. Really slick move there. So 57-yard rush there by Luke Starnes. He already has a 69-yarder for a touchdown in the game. Sorry, it's 49 yards. Nevertheless, that puts him already over 100 for the game. I have him 4 for 122. Now, gives it again. I believe that was Starnes again. He gets up for about 3. No, it's the Wayrich that time. Wayrich gets up for about 3. So 2nd and goal for the Quakers at the 6. So 2 receivers, 1 receiver to each side, Starnes and Wayrich now. Now screen pass, and he's into the end zone for a touchdown. That was Wayrich. All right. So that was Wayrich's 12th of the season. He's in the end zone for I'm not sure if that's going to be scored as a I don't know if that pass went forward or not. But if it is counted forward, it'll be the first passing touchdown for the Quakers on the season. But nevertheless, it is a touchdown, and the Quakers have a 20-0 lead with 2:17 to go here in the first quarter. Apparently on their way to an easy win, recovering from their first loss, and the kick is up, and it is good. So 2:17 to go, following that 6-yard touchdown by Wayrich. Your score now, Plainfield 21, Franklin 0. Well, I'll tell you, there have been. This is my 13th year, and this has definitely been a standout season for me for several reasons. One is that there have been times this year when I've just been speechless, and that usually doesn't happen to me. But there are times when that's how good Plainfield has been. And of course, last week, obviously, it was a setback. But maybe we needed that. Maybe we needed that to bring us down to earth and remind us that, we got to keep on working to get better, and we can't rest on a number 1 rating. By the way, Plainfield this week ranked number 5 in the AP poll, number 4 in the USA Today Network poll, and ranked number 8 in the IFCA coaches poll. So, everybody agrees we're good. The question is just how good. And now another kickoff into the end zone for Starnes, for Hayob, excuse me. So Grizzly Cubs now are with a 21 point deficit, trying to get something going here, trying to get back into this game, and avoid the blowout that they suffered last year at our hands at Plainfield, where we had a running clock for almost the entire second half when we took a 38-3 lead. So now pitch back to Lugers, and he's got some room, and you can tell with the intensity that he's running, he just realizes they've got to get something going. And he'd only gone 4 for 7 to start off the game on the ground, though he did have a 29-yard reception on the first play from scrimmage. Five for 11 for Lugers now. Second, or 5 for 12, excuse me. So 2nd and 5 for the Grizzly Cubs. 144 to go and counting in the first quarter, and now up to Lugers again, and he's going to be stopped for just about 2. And we got a late flag here, so let's see what that's all about. So. Let's see what that's. Hopefully, these officials will not take as much time deliberating as last week's did. And now it looks like he's about to start. The official is standing there, but he's been standing there for. It seems like at least, and now he's starting to walk the ball back. So it is against the Grizzly Cubs. But one thing I was thinking, because I know that for both games that we played on Saturday this year against Harrison, and then against Decatur Central last week, we had to scramble to make sure we had enough officials. And I wonder if we had like a bunch of officials who never worked together before and really just didn't have much chemistry together. But anyway, now 2nd and 20, and incomplete pass there by Betts. So that'll bring up 3rd and 20 now for the Grizzly Cubs. Plainfield, a dominant rushing attack tonight. The next couple of games, though, are going to be a lot tougher against Whiteland and against Martinsville to close out the season. It's now a very deep pass, but then I think they're going to call pass interference. There was some contacts. I couldn't tell if it was incidental or not, but it looks like it's going to be a pass interference against the Quakers, which will be an automatic first down, a much-needed automatic first down for Franklin. So Plainfield, assuming they hang on to win tonight, it will be their sixth win. It'll be their third consecutive season of getting at least 6 wins, which itself is a very good accomplishment here in Indiana high school football. Hopefully they'll get more than that, though. Okay, so it's going to be against the Quakers, but it's not an automatic first down. So it'll be 3rd and 3 for the Grizzly Cubs now. And now they give it to Lugers, but I think they stopped him. So it's going to be 4th and short for the Grizzly Cubs. They might actually go for it in this situation. It wouldn't surprise me. Only one there on the gain. So Lugers has been contained so far, 6 for 13. They are in punt formation. It wouldn't surprise me if they faked, but let's take a look. And now, I think there's a flag. There was some movement. I'm not sure who it's going to be against, but let's see here. So it's going to be against Franklin, so that definitely decreases the chance of a fake now. Now 4th and 2 comes to 4th and 7. So now a punt, and Starnes just calls for the fair catch, takes it at the Plainfield 46. 42.6 seconds to go. It's been the Quakers have made it look easy today. So looking at Max Preps right now, it says that a school in Alabama, Columbia of Alabama, has just lost. They just lost to Decatur on Thursday night, and obviously not Decatur Central. And it says that was their 87th consecutive loss. The Eagles haven't won since 2015. Poor kids. The longest losing streak in Indiana high school football is 64. That was Fort Wayne Elmhurst. So anyway, 2 receivers to the left. Starnes now in motion. Takes I know it's a screen pass, but it's overthrown. So I'll bring up 2nd and 10 for the Quakers. So 2nd and 10 for the Quakers at their own 46. They've scored on every possession. Now Starnes again. He's hit. He spins around and gets up for about 5. So good effort by Starnes. See, I have him 5 for 127 now, and a touchdown, which came from 69 yards. That could be the last play of the first quarter. Two receivers now to the left. Starnes, the running back. Hendry now in motion in the backfield. Starnes gets it again, and he's got some room. He's got the first down and gets about a yard more, and that's the end of the quarter. So after 1 quarter of play here at Franklin, just about all is right with the world as far as your Plainfield Quakers are concerned. They lead the Grizzly Cubs 20-0. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors on audiosportsonline.com. This broadcast of Plainfield Quakers High School and audiosportsonline.com is brought to you by the generous donations of our sponsors. We would like to recognize them, and we hope you will support them. They are Remax Centerstone Julia Berberich, Ganell Financial, Crone Family Construction, by IT Indy Ryan Grimes, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, BGW Construction LLC, Legacy Motorsports, Crest Point Real Estate, Chris Pearson, Selwith Jones, the Stewart Home Group, and Ellison Associates. Thank you, business partners. Your support for the student athletes of Plainfield High School is greatly appreciated. Well, back here at Plainfield, we're about to start the second quarter with your Plainfield Quakers firmly in control of this game. They lead the Franklin Grizzly Cubs 21-0 after 3 rushing touchdowns. Actually, one of them might have been a pass. I'm going to see how they scored it. I couldn't tell if the ball went forwards or sideways or backwards. It was that close, but it was a 6-yard touchdown by Wayrich, nevertheless. Now the Quakers 1st and 10 at the Franklin 44. This could be another running clock game. We'll see. So now handoff, and and now Starnes takes it over, and he's got some room on the left side inside the 20. Wow. And there is a flag, however. That was a good fake there on the handoff. That was a Scott Amor caliber fake. So it's going to be a hold against holding against Plainfield, so it's coming back. Well, Plainfield, like they did last year, they recovered from their first loss to fire back hard against Franklin. Now the question is, how are they going to do these next 2 weeks against Whiteland and against Martinsville? Hopefully we will rise to the occasion. So now, that's fumble. It's a fumble, but the Quakers fell on it, but it's going to be for, I think they're maybe a 1-yard loss, not much. So 11:22 to go now. Second and 13 for the Quakers at the Whiteland 48. The Quakers have scored a touchdown on every possession. Moved the ball, rushed the ball almost at will. So 2 receivers now to the right, 1 to the left. 1 running back. Now, hands off. He's up past the 45-40. So it's going to be a gain of about, that was Wayrich, by the way. That's about an 8 or 9. That's an 8-yard rush by Western Wayrich, bringing up 3rd and 6 now at the 40. 4 down territory, obviously, for the Quakers at this point, unless they just decide they want to, try to pin the Warriors inside their 5. So 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. Starnes and Wayrich both in the backfield. Sabank takes it. He's pressured, throws up the middle. He's got a white man right. Oh, and he dropped it. He was wide open. He just didn't get the grip on it. And he would have had a first down and much more. So 4th and 6 now. That's about the only thing that's gone wrong for Plainfield tonight, though. Wayrich was the intended receiver, by the way. So 4th and 6, the Quakers are going for it. Why not? So 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. And now we got a whistle here. And I think Plainfield has just taken its first time out. And probably at this point, Coach Blesh is just wanting to, talk to the kids about the situation. Just let them know, hey, if we get this, we can make it 28-0, and then we'll have a good chance to make it 35-0 later in the quarter, and play their second half with the running clock and go home early tonight. I think what he's trying to do is guard against a letdown. Like, for example, if we don't get a score and then Franklin goes down and gets a touchdown, and then it's 21-7, and we would still be in solid control of this game, but it would be, the perception of the game would be far different now, and it could boost, Franklin's confidence and start building some momentum for them. So we just want to make sure we don't lose the momentum we have. But yeah, I'm really overwhelmed by so many things Plainfield has done this year, and I mean that in the most positive way. So now two receivers to the right, and now Sabak drops back to pass, and he passes it to Starnes, and he drops it. So two consecutive drops by the two lead actors, one by Wayrich, one by Starnes, and for the first time in this game, the Quakers do not score a touchdown, and so Franklin's going to have a chance to at least, cut it to two possessions here. And I'm glad they're trying to get, Wayrich. I mean, they're trying to get Sabonk more passes. But, yeah, it's disappointing to see the two drops there by, Wayrich and Starnes. So now pitch back to Lugers. But we're right on top of him, and we stop him. And there's, I believe, a late flag, though. So let's see what that's all about. I think that's going to count as a rush. It looked to me like the ball went backwards. It's hard to tell sometimes, but let's see here. Personal foul, face max against the Quakers. Penalties is one of the few things it's one of the few blotches, and not only today, but this season for the Quakers. So the Grizzly Cubs now have it 1st and 10 at the Plainfield 45, trailing by 21, though. So now Lugers gets it, and he breaks through, and he's up past the 35, 30, 25. So Alex Lugers with his first big gain of the evening. That'll go for about 20 yards. And this is the best field position that Franklin has had all game. He was 6 for 13 by my count before that, picks up about 20 there. So 1st and 10 for the Grizzly Cubs at the Plainfield 25, trying to get back in this game. Two receivers to the left, one to the right. But Alex Lugers is the main focal point of this offense. He gets it again there. No, Betts keeps it, and he's brought down for a loss. Good fake there by Betts. So Betts with a Scott Amore caliber fake. I still remember when Grayson Betts started a couple of years ago on that 2 yards there on the 3 yards on the loss there. So three receivers to the left, two to the right. Now Betts throws over down the right side, and he's got a catch for a first down that was bone steel about the 12. He falls down immediately. He had to get up high to get it, but he did manage to get the grip on it. Acrobatic catch by Braden Bonesteel. Give him credit for 17 on that one. Two receptions for 25 yards by Bonesteel now. 1st and 10 at the 11 for the Grizzly Cubs. This is their best drive of the evening. The first time they'd gotten a first down since the and now handoff there to Lugers, and he's brought down for a loss. We've really had good coverage on Lugers tonight. And the one time when he broke through for 20 yards, he really had to earn them. He had some really flashy moves there. There they move him back. They got him for -4 there. So 2nd and 12 at the 15 for Franklin. And now He dodges a sack and throws into the end zone. Did he get it? No. He had to get down low, and they're saying it touched the ground. So 5 for 11 for Betts. Grayson Betts, not a big guy for a quarterback, 5'10", 193. But, a couple of years ago, he was thrust into the starting role as a freshman. And, it's always tough when that happens, but it always pays off down the stretch, too. So now 2 or 3 receivers to the left, 2 to the right. This is a good formation for keepers, but let's see. So now throws into the end zone, and it's overthrown. And I think what's happening with Franklin now, I think they just feel so desperate to score. They're doing a lot of low percentage plays, rather than but I think it's showing that they feel like we really are containing their rushing offense. And I think a big part of the problem is that Whiteland is not. Franklin's not a team that really has a lot of big offensive targets. So now, on 4th and 12, they're going for it. 4 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. And now they put a lot of pressure on Betts. He's got some room to run it inside the 10, and he just takes it inside the 5. But he stays on his feet, and he gets around the corner, and he's got the touchdown. And that gets the crowd back into it. Grayson Betts, an outstanding 3rd and 4th effort. And so the the Grizzly Cubs showing a little bit of life here with 7:23 to go here in the second quarter. So I give them credit for not rolling over and dying when it looked like they were. I mean, because they could have gone down. They could be down 28-0 right now. Now it's 20-6. And the extra point is, and it's blocked. So second consecutive week we blocked an extra point. So that makes it 20-6 here. Nevertheless, the Grizzly Cubs finally showing some offensive life on that drive after being largely shut out ever since the promising first drive that ended on a turnover and downs at the Plainfield 28. Plainfield has scored on 3 of its 4 possessions. Last week when we got back in the game against Decatur Central, it was 20-7. Oh, God, they're saying Plainfield committed a penalty, so they're going to get another chance at the conversion here. So it's going to make it. I think it said a personal foul against Plainfield. So half the distance to the goal. Matt Payne, the kicker for Franklin, 13 for 13 on PATs on the season. I'm sorry, 7:49 your time of day. And another block. All right. So 2 in a row. The second one counts. With 7:23 to go here in the second quarter at Franklin, your score: Plainfield's 20, Franklin 6. The last time, I mentioned how Plainfield with a win tonight, it'll be their 6th win of the year. And the last time they got more than 6 wins in a year was all the way back in 2010 when they went 7-3. In fact, actually, the first 5 years under head coach Brian Woodard, they got more than 6 wins. But then after that, 6 is the number they've been stuck at. On the other hand, they have won a minimum of 4 games every year since 2012. So they've fluctuated from 4 to 6 wins every year. And, considering the for a lot of teams in the state, that would just be mediocre. But considering the Quakers usually play one of the top 40 or 50 schedules in the state, I mean, that's actually a very solid number. But we're trying to get over that hump and do better than that. And I think we will. I think we're going to get at least 7 wins this year, hopefully more. But obviously we can control our own. And now a mid-level kick, and it fielded at about the 24, brought up to the 30 and about 31 there. That was Hayden Herbeck. Last name spelled Hrbek, like the baseball player Kent Herbeck. You might remember him from the Minnesota Twins. I think he was on both of their World Series championship teams in 87 and 91. I know for sure he was in 87. That is a Croatian name. And now hand off there to Starnes. And he, well, at least I know Kent Herbeck was a Croatian American. I think the name is distinctly Croatian. I know a lot of those Slavic countries, they like to have words without vowels, or at least syllables without vowels. I noticed that when I went to the Czech Republic in 2001. So now Starnes 2 yards on the first play of the next drive. 2nd and 8 at the 33. And now Sabonk takes it. He's got a first down there, and before he's tripped up. That's a gain of about 9 by Bryce Sabonk. Let's see where they mark him. So I give Sabonk credit for 10 on his first keeper. He's going to do a lot of great things for us. He's done a very understated job for us this year. He's been a very, very solid, efficient player, especially considering he's only a sophomore. So now 1st and 10 at our own 43. Gives it to Starnes. Bounces out the line. Then he goes back, but he's brought down for a loss. So it's going to be a loss of 2 or 3. That'll bring about 2nd and 12. Starnes already 1,000 yards on the season and 13 touchdowns, and it's only week 7. Got at least 3 games left, 2 in the regular season, at least 1 playoff game, hopefully a lot more than that. So 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left. Starnes in the backfield. Sabonk, screen pass, and it's caught. And he's he's brought down for only a short gain. So they're going to give him credit for no gain. They're marking him right at the line of scrimmage. Now the Quakers letting the clock run down. They're still in huddle with 10 seconds left. 4:33 on the game clock. Now, I guess they're going to call, and now they do call timeout. Not sure. I guess they just want to. I guess Plainfield just wanted to run as much clock as possible so that if Franklin does get the ball back without Plainfield scoring on this possession, the Grizzly Cubs will have less time because let's face it, if we don't get a score here and Franklin then comes down and gets at least if they get a touchdown on their next possession, it's a 1-possession game, and that dramatically changes things. I mean, just a few minutes ago we had the ball with a chance to make it 28-0. I give Franklin credit for fighting back though. And that's what you expect from a Chris Cole team. I remember him from his days, at Tri-West. Had a lot of success there. So 3rd and 12. The fans really you're really getting into it on this side of the field. 2 receivers to the left, 4 to the right. Very big play for the Grizzly Cubs defense. And now we got some movement on the line. So let's see what that's all about. False start against the Plainfield. So big break. And now 3rd and 12 becomes an even more daunting 3rd and 17. So good chance the Grizzly Cubs will not get the ball back with a chance to make it a 1-possession game. So let's see. Now we got, I believe it's Garver and Ellis lined up to the left, 1 receiver to the right. Starnes there at running back. Sabank takes it, and he's brought down for a sack. So the Quakers will presumably punt here. So now all of a sudden, Plainfield falling into a little bit of a rut. Hopefully we'll pull out of it and not let them get back in this. .358 to go now. It's the punt. It's a good punt. And it bounces about 32, takes a big Plainfield bounce inside the 20 and down at about the 18. So that'll be about a 51-yard punt there. So the Grizzly Cubs with 3:42 trailing by 14 take over inside their 20. Let's do it, boys. Let's get a stop here. And remember, Plainfield gets the ball first to start the second half. That's important. And I think that's why Franklin has such urgency now. So maybe it was a good idea for Plainfield to milk some of the clock there on that last drive. So now 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left, empty backfield for Franklin. And now screen pass. It is complete. And he gets up for about 6 and knocked out of bounds. Yeah, that was Luger's there for another 6 for the senior superstar. Bringing up 2nd and 4. So now they're pronouncing it Tante instead of Taunt, so I apologize for that. So that'll be a 5-yard pickup there. So Corey Tante is how they're pronouncing it. And now a screen pass, and it is incomplete. So Betts 7 for 15 now, roughly his average on the season. 2nd and 10 now at their own 29. Plainfield 20, Franklin 6. The Quakers started off like they were going to run over the game like an 18-wheel truck, then have slowed down, and Franklin has started to hit its stride on offense. They can, with a touchdown on this drive, they can make it a 1-possession game heading into the locker room. So now 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Franklin has often used 5 receivers in this game. So now Betts takes it. He's pressured, but he rushes, and he's brought down for a sack. No, he stays on his feet, and he gets rid of it. But yeah, he got out of at least 2 sacks there. He was on his way down and then managed to stay up. I hope somebody got some video of that. That was pretty impressive. Nevertheless, 3rd down and 10 now for the Grizzly Cubs. 3:18 to go here in the second quarter. 8:01 your time of day here. Game 7 of 9 in the regular season. Plainfield entering at 5-1, coming off its first loss of the season. Franklin coming in at 2-4, won their first two, have lost every game since. So now three receivers to the right, two to the left. Betts in shotgun, takes it, throws immediately, and he's got a reception, and he gets up for about he's got the first. That was Luger's there. Picks up 10 or 11. So 10 yards there. First and 10 now at the 39. Under 3 minutes to go now. It's three receivers to the right, two to the left. And now Betts, got time, rolls right, and he gets rid of it. 8 for 18 for the game, 85 yards for Betts now. Plainfield has nine interceptions on the season, already passing last year's total of 7. However, none in the last 2 games, in part because there wasn't a lot of passing by either Greenwood or by Decatur Central. Greenwood, Decatur Central normally passes a lot, but Bo Polston last week was very conservative, in the bad weather. So 2 receivers now to the right, or 1 to the left. Now a couple of running backs in the backfield, 2:41 to go in the half. Franklin trailing by 14. And now Luger's has got the ball, and he goes up, then goes over to the right, tries to find room, but he only gets about 2. So, by the way, Greenwood does have, Franklin has 2 timeouts. So give Luger's credit for 2 on that one. So now 3rd down and 9. Fakes the handoff now. Betts under pressure, and he throws downfield, and he makes the catch. And it's that was Bone Steel inside the 40. So good job under pressure. He was running out of space to throw it, but he did get it off. So a 25-yard pass there from Betts to Bone Steel. So the Grizzly Cubs still with a shot to get a score here before they go into the locker room. Bone Steel has 3 receptions for 51 yards. And now Betts now throws deep in, but it's way out of bounds. 9 out of 20 by my count for Betts. 45% of his passes. That's about what he averages on the season. So the first and 10 now for second and 10 now for the Grizzly Cubs at the Plainfield 34, trailing 20-6. Plainfield scored rushing touchdowns on their first 3. They scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions, and very easily. But now with under 2 minutes to go in the quarter, Plainfield, Franklin trying to catch up. And now a keeper there by Betts, and he's close to the first down. And I'll tell you, I've seen it before. You do that 5 wide receiver formation, often there's a gaping hole for the quarterback to take advantage, and Betts did there. Got about 8, bringing up 3rd and about 2. 1:27 to go and counting now in the quarter. So now 3 receivers to each side, 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left, 3rd and 3, and now throws up the middle, and it intercepted on a tip, and he's got some room on the right side up to the 40. Past the 30 up to about the 34. That was not Betts' fault, but his intended receiver bobbled it, and Plainfield gets their 10th interception of the season, breaking the Grizzly Cubs' momentum. 56.1 seconds to go in the quarter. I would imagine Plainfield will simply kneel out the clock and then come out in the second half and try to get that 3-possession lead back, but we will see. I wish there were a separate category for that, for like interceptions off tips, interceptions that aren't the quarterback's fault. That's one flaw with this stat system here in American football. So Plainfield, I figured they'd kneel out the clock, but let's see. So now a handoff, I believe that's Wayrich. He gets up for about 2. Wayrich, a very quiet first half, although he did get the 6-yard touchdown. Two yards there. 32 seconds to go now. $16 seconds on the play clock, and I think Plainfield's going to let it run down to just let it. There's about a 1 second differential between the two clocks. I think Plainfield's just going to let it run down to 1 and take their timeout. Okay, so that's it. That's the first half. So after one half of play here at Franklin, your Plainfield Quakers got off to a red hot start. Did they cool down? But they still head to the locker room with a 20-6 lead over the Franklin Grizzly Cubs, and they get the ball first to start the second half. We'll be back with a recap and a look ahead to the second half after these words from our sponsors on audiosportsonline.com. This broadcast of Plainfield Quakers football on audiosportsonline.com is brought to you by the generous donations of our sponsors. We would like to recognize them, and we hope you will support them. They are Remax Centerstone, Julia Berberich, Ganell Financial, Crone Family Construction, My IT Indy Ryan Grimes, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, BGW Construction LLC, Legacy Motorsports, Crest Point Real Estate, Chris Pearson Selwith Jones, the Stewart Home Group, and Ellison Associates. Thank you, business partners. Your support for the student athletes of Plainfield High School is greatly appreciated. Well, back here at Franklin, we're at halftime with your Plainfield Quakers leading the Franklin Grizzly Cubs 20-6. It's a game in which Plainfield started off super red hot, like they were going to run away with it and have a running clock for the entire second half. They scored touchdowns easily on their first 3 possessions, but then they stalled and Franklin started to get some offense going. Franklin got the ball first and moved the ball all the way up to the Plainfield 27, but then turned it over on downs. Then on Plainfield's ensuing possession, Luke Starnes took it in 69 yards for the touchdown. The extra point was good, making it 7-0. Then after a punt by Franklin, this time on a double reverse, Ethan Ellis scored a touchdown on a 77-yard rush. Hayob's extra point was good, making it 14-0. Then after another punt by Franklin, Plainfield drove all the way down to the Franklin 6, and then Weston Wayrich scored on a 6-yard play. I think it was a short pass by Bryce Sabank, in which case it would be his first touchdown pass of the season. However, it is possible that the officials scored it as a backwards pass, in which case it would count as a rushing touchdown by Wayrich. I'll see what the official box score is, but for now I'm counting it as a pass. And then finally, after another punt by Franklin, Plainfield turned the ball over on downs at about the Franklin 40 on its next possession, and then at that point the Grizzly Cubs started to get going, and they scored on a 15-yard touchdown rush by quarterback Grayson Betts. The extra point, however, was blocked, making the score 20-6. And then after Plainfield once again failed to score on its ensuing possession and punted. Franklin moved the ball well into Quakers territory, got it down to the 35 on a 26-yard pass to Braden Bonesteel. However, then a pass by Betts was tipped and intercepted, and Plainfield ran out the remainder of the half. A look at the individual statistics. First of all, for Plainfield, Bryce Sabank has completed, by my count, 2 of 6 passes for 6 yards and 1 touchdown. But again, as I said earlier, it could be that the officials will rule that he threw it backwards, although I thought he threw it slightly forward. But we'll see. I'm hoping they'll count it as a pass. Could be great to finally get Sabank his first touchdown of the season here in Game 7 for the promising young sophomore who's been a great game manager this year. For receiving, I have Wayrich, 1 reception for 6 yards and a touchdown. Starnes, 1 reception for 0 yards. As usual, Plainfield doing most of its damage on the ground. Luke Starnes, 8 receptions for 8 rushes for 132 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown coming from 69 yards. Ethan Ellis, only 1 rush, but it was 77 yards and a touchdown. It was the 2nd touchdown of the season, and it came on a double handoff like his first one did. That was our first touchdown of the season. In addition, Weston Wayrich, so far a quiet night on the ground. I have him 4 for 16, and then Sabank 2 for 5. Meanwhile, for Franklin, Grayson Betts has completed 9 of 20 passes for 111 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. Alex Lugers has 4 receptions for 51 yards. Braden Bonesteel 3 for 51, and Corey Tante 2 for 9 on the ground. Alex Lugers has 9 receptions for 31 yards, and Betts has 5 for 17 and 1 touchdown. So basically, this is a game. It's Plainfield's to lose. We get the ball first to start the second half. And if I were Coach Cole right now, what I would tell the kids in the locker room, remember what worked so well those first 3 drives. Do it again, start the second half. Go down there, get that touchdown, get that 3-touchdown lead back. And then, we've got our hands firmly on the steering wheel, and it's ours to lose. So basically, they're playing well. They just, didn't finish a couple of drives, and that's enabled Franklin to stay in it. So, what you got to do is put the game away and not let the other team think they still have a chance. So hopefully we'll do that, and I think we'll be okay. Well, right now, let's take a look at what the other Hendricks County teams are up to tonight. Starting in Class 6A, Brownsburg, after the last few weeks being stuck at number 2 behind Westfield, beat Westfield last week 17-13 to take over the number 1 spot. Westfield, of course, dropped to number 2. Brownsburg won the game 17-13 tonight. The Bulldogs visit 3-3 Zionsville. Also in Class 6A, Avon lost its 4th consecutive games to Fish. Avon lost its 4th consecutive game after what appeared to be that comeback win over Ben Davis back in week 2. Avon now 1-5 after a 27-13 loss to Fishers. Tonight they visit 2nd-ranked Westfield. In Class 4A, Danville continues to recover from its season-opening loss. They've won 5 in a row now after last week's 41-6 win over Southmont. Tonight they should get their 6th in a row as they visit the 0-6 Frankfurt Hot Dogs. Moving down to Class 3A now, Cascade enters the rankings at number 16 with a 56-21 win over North Putnam. The Cadets now 6-0 for the first time in program history. They never had more than a 4-0 start before this year, the 59th year of their football program. Tonight, the Cadets host 6-0 Northview in one of the biggest Class 4A. One of the biggest lower conference games in the state. Cascade, like I said, 3A, Northview 4A. And finally, in Class 3A, Tri-West lost its 3rd consecutive game, 30-16 at Lebanon. The Bruins are now 2-4. Tonight, they host another 2-4 team, the North Montgomery Chargers. Well, I'll tell you, I don't ever know um, that there was ever a week in my life in which there were so many deaths in the week, so many deaths in a week that affected me. Um, I'm talking about famous people. I'm not talking about like horrible mass tragedies, which of course have happened in my lifetime. But gosh, in the last week, we've lost um, John Amos, we've lost John Ashton, Drake Hoggeston, Pete Rose, and I remember I'm 53 years old, to put this in perspective. My mom, she died a couple of years ago at 79. She would be 81 if she were still living. And I remember back in the 90s when she was about the age that I am now, there were a whole slew of cultural icons from her generation who died in a short time period. And even people who I never remember my mother talking much about or never thought of her as being a big fan of, but the deaths really affected her. And I think when you see a lot of people of your generation who defined your generation dying, it does really affect you. And you know, for me, Drake Hoggeston's probably somebody a lot of you don't know by name, but my maternal grandmother zealously watched the soap opera Days of Our Lives, which she starred on for about 35 years or so, as the character of John Black. And I often enjoy surprising girls with my expertise of Days of Our Lives trivia because I grew up so exposed to it, whether I wanted to be or not. Um, my maternal grandmother, keep in mind, this is before streaming, and part of it is before you could record something on VHS. She would get nervous if the TV wasn't turned to NBC by 12:45. Days of Our Life started at 1. And when I was watching something else and assured her I'd turn it by 1, that wasn't good enough. She wanted it turned to NBC right now. So anyway, yeah, he was a great actor. Also a former minor league baseball player. He played in the New York Yankees system in the 70s before suffering an injury and going into acting. And anyway, so he died, I believe, last Saturday. And then, then it's ironic, I was talking a few weeks ago. I think it was when I was talking about how Weston Wayrich is the supporting actor to Luke Starnes being the lead actor. And I mentioned it wasn't a denigrating comment to Wayrich, that supporting actors are very important. And I think I used John Ashton as an example from the Beverly Hills Cop movie. I've long contended that one of the two major reasons that Beverly Hills Cop 3 was such a letdown is because he wasn't in it. And, what I call the three musketeers from the Beverly Hills Cop movies, Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, and John Ashton, they had such dynamic chemistry together. But when you took Ashton out in part 3, everything fell apart. And then Eddie Murphy decided he wanted to be less of a jokester in the movie, which also hurt it. But in the new movie Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, the three are all back together, and they're as dynamite as ever. My son and I both, loved the movie, and I consider it to be equal to the first two. Um, but Ashton had a long career, over 50 years in acting, did a lot of stuff. Most of it wasn't very well recognized, but the Beverly Hills Cop movies, I mean, he was made for that role of Taggart, the hard-nosed, no-nonsense, older, more mature veteran of the police force who balanced out the childlike, gun-crazed Rosewood, the Judge Reinhold character, and then the rebellious prankster Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy. And I remember my son, the movie was released, I believe, on Independence Day this year, and my son and I saw it a day or two after it was released. It was a Netflix original, and I remember thinking that Ashton looked pretty bad. I mean, Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold, each looked 40 years older. Um, John Ashton looked like he was very sick, and apparently he was. Um, and he died not even 3 months after the movie's release, it turned out. But it did not affect his performance, and it was great to see those three come back 37 years after Beverly Hills Cop 2 for a great reunion there. And then John Amos, star of the TV sitcom Good Times, one of several blockbusters that Norman Lear started in the first half of the 70s, and it was a culturally significant show in that it was the first major American TV show about a black nuclear family. And After I heard Amos died, I thought back to his character, his role of James Evans, the first 3 of the 6 seasons of the show. And I thought, James Evans is the kind of father we need in America today, a kind of father that's missing from the lives of so many kids, someone who's loving and who's a provider for his family, whatever he has to do to achieve that, but who's also a disciplinarian. You can't have one without the other. And we have so many kids today that have absent fathers. And if they have present fathers, a lot of times the kids don't get the discipline that they need. And that portrayal, if after the 3rd season, when Amos was fired from the show and his character was said to have been killed in a car accident, the show was never the same. It became much more of an ordinary sitcom without him. And he was fired, by the way, because he was clashing so much with the producers because he wanted to make it a more serious show. But anyway, so that was a sad loss. And on a lighter note, Amos also, speaking of Eddie Murphy, starred with Murphy playing the father-in-law of his character in both of the Coming to America movies. He played a guy who owned a fast food restaurant chain called McDowell's, which is suspiciously very similar to McDonald's, and in fact is often fighting lawsuits from McDonald's with some very humorous scenarios. And then finally, Pete Rose this week, and to understand the way that I viewed Pete Rose, you have to understand where I grew up and when. Like I said, I'm 53. I started watching sports in 1978, growing up in Madison, Indiana, between Louisville and Cincinnati, right there on the Ohio River. We didn't have the Colts yet. The Bengals usually weren't a very good team. And the Cincinnati Reds, they were a couple of years removed from their back-to-back World Series championship teams of 75 and 76, but they were, they were, they still had a lot of the main players, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, some of the others, Dave Concepcion, George Foster. And they had Pete Rose, who was the star of the team. And so Pete Rose was really 20 years before Peyton Manning came to Indianapolis. Well, 6 years before the Colts came to Indianapolis, Pete Rose was what I knew as like the big area pro sports hero. And, it's really interesting. I understood far less about life than I did then. And I didn't understand until years later that Rose, outside of the Cincinnati area, was widely disliked because of his brashness and boastfulness at a time when that was not viewed as a good quality. And, I remember, one of the most emotional moments for me as a sports fan was September 11th, 1985, when Rose hit his 4,192nd base hit there at the old Riverfront Stadium off of Eric Shaw of the San Diego Padres, making Pete Rose the all-time base hit leader in Major League Baseball, surpassing Ty Cobb. And I remember the 7-minute ovation. Keep in mind, Rose was a native of Cincinnati, so that made him even doubly popular there. And I remember him standing there, soaking in the ovation, and it's like he was doing everything he could not to cry, but you could tell he was on the verge of snapping. And then his son Pete Jr., who would have been about 15 or 16 at the time, came down, and then when they hugged, Pete completely lost it and just cried like a baby on his son's shoulder. And it was just a very moving moment to me. And, never in my wildest dreams would I imagine that in less than 4 years he would be out of baseball forever, And, I remember hearing about, in early '89, hearing about his gambling scandals, the rumors of his gambling scandals, that he was betting not only on baseball but on his own team. And I remember there was actually a funny Saturday Night Live skit in which there was a guy playing Rose who was getting baseball. He was getting gambling tips from a guy playing the Dustin Hoffman character in the movie Rain Man, the super autistic guy. Um, and that itself was funny, but unfortunately, a lot of what happened to Rose later in his life was not. And I was thinking, when I heard that he could be banned for life, I was like, surely that wouldn't happen to Pete Rose. I mean, there had only been 13 players banned for life up to that point, and 8 of them were the 1919 Chicago White Sox players who were accused of taking money to fix the World Series and lose it, ironically, to the Reds. That was portrayed in the movie 8 Men Out, which was filmed partly in Indianapolis at the old Busch Stadium, the former home of the Indianapolis Indians. And Rose, I remember, 1989, I was 18. News didn't travel quite as fast as it did in those days. We didn't have smartphones yet. We didn't have push notifications. And I remember opening the mailbox, and my hometown of Madison, Indiana, we had an afternoon newspaper. So sometimes there'd be, they would cover events that happened that morning. And I remember the headline, and these are the exact words. This is not a paraphrase. The exact words were, Rose banned for life on a very sad day. The phrase "a very sad day" was in parentheses, quoting what Rose had said in response to it. And I read the article, and it said that he could apply for reinstatement in a year. And okay, it's like, okay, he'll be back in a year, And Bart Giamatti, the commissioner of the Major League Baseball commissioner who suspended Rose, he said he would consider reinstatement in 1 year for his reform himself. And he sounded very sincere. But tragically, Giamatti died of a heart attack only 8 days later, only 51 years old. And then his successor, Fay Vincent, who served for the next 3 years until 1992, and then his successor, Bud Selig, who served for the next 23 years until 2015, both had completely different attitudes than Giamatti. I mean, they just were completely closed-minded to any possibility of reinstating Rose, no matter what. As Rose said, Bart Giamatti would have given me a fair chance, but I could have come to Vincent with an endorsement from God, and it would not have made any difference to him. But then Selig stepped down in 2015. Rob Manfred took over as commissioner. And, over the years, public opinion polls consistently showed a strong majority of Americans wanted Rose in the Hall of Fame. And, Rose did some things to hurt his cause. Like, for example, in 1999, when they held the press conference for the All-Century team, he skipped it to instead host an autograph session at, of all places, a casino. But I still thought that Rose should be reinstated because he, I felt he harmed the game less than a lot of the problem children of the 80s, like Steve Howe and Darryl Strawberry. I certainly felt he harmed the game a lot less. I felt Rose harmed the game a lot less than the problem children like Steve Howe and Darryl Strawberry. I thought he harmed the game a lot less than the strike that canceled the 1994 World Series. I thought he harmed the game a lot less than the steroid scandal that absolutely obliterated and turned the record books into a joke with guys like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, going from good but not great players to suddenly, hitting home runs like Babe Ruth, or then guys like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, who certainly were accomplished superstars, but they were on their way down now, all of a sudden started playing better than ever. Barry Bonds hit 73 home runs at 37, and to think that, when Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in 1961 to break Babe Ruth's record of 60, the record was denigrated simply because it took because that was the first year of the 162 game season, and Maris broke the record the last game of the season, so people thought it was a cheap record. And not to mention that a lot of America wanted Mickey Mantle to break the record instead, and Mantle had a chance to do it but suffered a hip injury late in the season. But anyway, so I thought Rose belonged not only in the Hall of Fame, but that he should be reinstated. But then in 2015, Rob Manfred takes over, and he seems like he's very sincere that he's open-minded and will give Rose a chance. And he almost immediately granted Rose a reinstatement hearing. And at that time, Rose was 74 years old, and he had been banished for 26 years. It's like, okay, he's done more than his time. Let him back in. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten a managerial job, but maybe he could have gotten some kind of job, working for the Reds, something, to get him involved in the sport he loves so much. But then Manfred asked him, "Do you still bet on baseball?" And astonishingly, Rose said yes. And when I found that out, then my sympathy for him sharply declined. And of course, his application for reinstatement was denied at that point. And Manfred said publicly, "Look, the guy just doesn't understand the seriousness of what he did, and he's not sincerely repentant." And I agreed, and it was at that point when I no longer viewed Rose's banishment as a gross injustice. And I think Rose, he was in so many ways, he was so good for the game. I mean, like I read an article in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal the other day, said that he played baseball like he needed it to breathe, but he just used such poor judgment off the field. And the result was that he spent the last 35 years of his life estranged from the game that he loved so much. And it's tragic. I think that he was singled out for misbehavior when there were a lot of other people who harmed the game worse, who were never punished, unfortunately. Although some of those steroids guys have not gotten into the Hall of Fame yet, and maybe they never will. We'll see. We don't know how the steroids era is going to be perceived down the road, but I do hope that Rose does get into the Hall of Fame. I always hoped he would get in while he was still alive, but he made a lot of mistakes. He paid a huge price for them. He paid by being estranged from baseball for 35 years. But while he did, commit some inexcusable actions, and some of his misery was self-made, it does not denigrate his 4,256 base hits and his other great achievements. So, let's at least rectify that part. So now to start the second half here, it's a squib, and it bounces off a Plainfield guy. I think we got it. I don't think the kicker intended to hit a Plainfield guy that early, but I couldn't tell who got it. But Plainfield will be taking over about their own 45 with a 20-6 lead here. 8:33 your time of day. Plainfield taking over at their own 44. They scored touchdowns on their first three possessions pretty easily, in fact, and then stalled after that while Franklin got back in it. So now rush up the middle. We got about 6 or 7 there by, I believe that was Wayrich. And we got that was Starnes, excuse me. Starnes 132 yards and a 69-yard touchdown in the first half. Pushes him he's already over 1,100 yards on the season. 2nd and 5 now for the Quakers. Right at the 50. One receiver at each side, 2 running backs. Now handoff, and Starnes takes it up, and he's going to be close to the first down. It's going to be a gain of about 3. That'll bring up about 3rd and 2. So it'll be 3rd and 2 now at the Franklin 48. I have Starnes 10 for 140 and even 14 to carry. 2 receivers to the right now. Starnes, the running back. Starnes gets it. He's got the first down and a little more. So the Quakers move the chains. Picks up about 3 there. And first and 10 now for the Quakers. At the 1st and 10 at the Franklin 46 with a 20-6 lead. Plainfield looking for its 6th win for the 3rd consecutive season. Franklin has not had 3 consecutive 6-win seasons since I'll hold that thought. And now hand off to Wayrich, and he dodges a tackle and he gets up for about 5. Last time Plainfield got 3 consecutive seasons of at least 6 wins. Actually, they got 6 in a row from 2005 to 2010, but haven't gotten 3 in a row since then. That will change with a win tonight. So let's see. We got. Oh, it's okay. It's a personal foul. No, a personal foul against both teams, offsetting penalties. So they gave Wayrich there 3 for that. It's overall been a quiet game for him, though he does have a touchdown. And now Starnes again, and he gets up. I think he's got the first. Yeah, he got the first. So 7 for Starnes. I have him 12 for 149. He very well could get another 200-yarder today. 1st and 10 now at the Franklin 36 for the Quakers, trying to get their 3-touchdown lead back. They jumped off to a 20-0 lead, then cooled down, and Franklin started to get back into it. Now to start off the second half, Plainfield trying to put this one away. 1 receiver at each side now, Starnes and Wayrich in the backfield. And now the handoff, but they're right on top of him, and they bring him down. Right around the line of scrimmage. That was Starnes again. Plainfield got the ball first to start the second half. They've used almost 4 minutes now. Franklin